what's up, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of What's on Your Mind with Josh Kozuch. So last week I talked about how when I woke up in the morning there was snow on the ground. It was 27 degrees and it wasn't great, but I was thankful for it. This week's a little bit different. As you can see behind me, there's a pool, there's palm trees. Like, it's a beautiful day. There's sunshine. It's 80 degrees, and I'm thankful for this as well. So I just wanted to share that with you guys who are up there in the cold. Be grateful for what you have. This week's episode, I want to talk about stress. What is stress? Where does it come from? How do we deal with it? And then how do we overcome it? Because I think stress is something that we all encounter, and in different ways, of course, but it's how do we handle it and how do we deal with it that's really key. Now, the first step, I think, in handling stress is just understanding that stress isn't always a bad thing. We feel stress before challenges. We feel stress before we encounter something new or tackle a new obstacle. That's when we start to feel stress. You start to feel anxious, you start to feel nervous, maybe you have a fear of failure coming in. Like, that's when we start to feel stressed. So the key is, how do we deal with that? What are we gonna do? Examples of guys that I've worked with that feel stress are pitchers before they step onto a mound, maybe the night before they're starting and they get stressed out. Hitters, same thing, big situations. People trying to find new jobs, stressful situations. Making big moves, stressful situations. All challenges that we don't know the outcomes to. And it's stressful, it really is. How do we handle that? The first step is to recognize it. Where is the challenge coming from? What am I gonna do with it? So for a pitcher, the challenge is coming from the uncertainty of not knowing what's going to happen when he steps onto the mound. Hitter, same thing, not knowing what's going to happen. The person looking for a job, not knowing if they're going to get that job or if they won't. Now, there's a study that's been done that looked at 200 elite and non-elite athlete swimmers. And what they did, they measured their stress. They took a qualitative survey and they asked them before a meet, are you stressed? What does stress feel like? And the interesting thing with the results were that every swimmer said that they experienced stress. The difference was how they interpreted it. So the non-elite swimmers, they viewed stress as something that was scary, that made them nervous, that they tried to suppress. The elite swimmers, they looked at it as something to embrace. They looked at it as, oh, this is a challenge. This feels good. This is going to motivate me to go do what I need to do. So I share that study because it shows that, yes, the swimmers had the same exact challenge in front of them, but they viewed it differently. So they identified their challenge, and then they changed their views of it. They understood that stress was helpful, stress was a benefit. Now, again, the first step, mention the challenge. The second step, write down what's within your control. What can you actually do about the situation? With the swimmers, the elite swimmers realized they could use the stress as a motivator. They could use it as, hey, my body's telling me to get ready to go. I'm gonna go out there and dominate. Write down the things that are in your control. Pitchers, players, athletes, anyone. Sleep, eat right, preparation, all of that stuff within your control. Somebody looking for a new job, putting out new resumes, talking to people, connecting, networking, doing everything that they possibly can to find a new job. That's the second step. Write down the things that you can control. Third, write down the things you can't control. This is where we get stuck. We worry about the outcomes. We worry about the things that aren't in our control. And that's where stress can take over. That's when we start to feel overwhelmed. That's when it becomes difficult. So write down the things that aren't in your control. Baseball players, athletes, things that aren't in your control. Weather, the playing surface, referees, umpires, what the other team does. All things that aren't in your control. So now you have a list. You have written down things you can control and things you can't control. What I want you guys to do is focus on that side of things that you can control. Look at it, pick one thing, and do something about it. And that's where we can really tackle stress. Do something positive. What ends up happening is we become stressed out, we become overwhelmed, it takes over our thoughts, our feelings, everything like that. And then we don't do anything. We sit on the couch, we watch TV, we go outside, like we don't do anything, and it just ends up percolating in our mind time after time, all day long. We're not doing anything to help ourselves out. So do something about it. Now, again, I want you guys to understand, stress is natural. Stress is gonna come. It's okay. If we didn't experience stress, there'd be no challenges. Now, how do we tackle those challenges and how do we overcome them? We start by identifying it. We think about what's within our control. We think about what's not in our control. And then we do something. So that's what I have for you guys today. That's stress. That's how we handle it. I thank you for joining me, and we'll see you back next week. Thanks, guys.